Good morning, sixth graders. Today we start our study of the Dakota people of Minnesota. For the next 2 units, we'll be studying both the Dakota and then the Ojibwe. And then when we get to MEA break, we'll start the fur trade. And you'll see how these three all kind of tie nicely in together. And the reason that we study the Dakota of Minnesota is because they have such an important part, a role in the early part of Minnesota's history. Their actions, their settlement of the land, their interactions with the new groups of people coming in, if it's the Ojibwe or if it's the white settlers, really molded and shaped how our state looks today. To start this out, I put three pictures up here, three images, I guess, of certain flags or emblems for the Wahpeton band of the Dakota, for the Minnewacan, and then in the middle here is just the Dakota nation itself, kind of a generic one. Notice the similarities. We have eagle feathers, we have the buffalo. These are important symbols for the Dakota people, and you'll see especially why the buffalo is so important tomorrow. So, when we're doing this today, I want to just kind of get one thing out of the way right off the get-go. A lot of times, authors, textbook manufacturers, people who should know better, refer to the Dakota by the name of Sioux, right down here. And that's not technically correct. It's been kind of changed. As the video later on will show you, that's sort of a nickname or a name that's kind of given to the Dakota in fun. It wasn't their true name. The word Dakota actually means friends or allies. And the word Sioux itself means something along the lines of snake or someone who can't be trusted. And that was given to the Dakota by the Ojibwe and the French together. So in this unit, we're going to call the Dakota. I want you to, right now, actually, I would love you to go to the work for today. And there's a note slide here called the Dakota in Minnesota. I'd like you to open this up because as I go through this, you're going to fill out the notes that I'm talking through onto this note slide. You don't have to turn this in. All you have to do is, we'll keep adding to it. How about that? And at the end, we'll turn it in. So open this up. This should be yours. And I'll begin in about 30 seconds. Okay. So the first item on the notes today, when you go through this, and you'll kind of go back when I'm done and go through this, is to watch this video. And it's going to be a review of what I'm saying. And then the subsequent slides will have little things for you to do based on the notes. I would just like you to listen for now, and then you can go back through the notes presentation and add the correct answers at the end. Okay? So let's dive in, I guess. The homeland of the Dakota, as pictured here. This map is a little bit deceiving because long before the Dakota ever came in contact with the Ojibwe, the Dakota really controlled most of Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, and North and South Dakota. In fact, their homeland even extended as far north as Canada. So their area was huge. As time went on, especially in the 1400s to the 1600s, the Ojibwe began to push in from the east, and we'll learn about that. And so they developed this very, very delicate equilibrium between the Ojibwe land and the Dakota land. And part of the area that was always fought over was Mille Lacs Lake. The Dakota considered Mille Lacs Lake to be sacred to their culture, and the Ojibwe considered the Mille Lacs Lake area to be very important to their daily life. They had a lot of resources that they took from that area. So that was kind of constantly fought over. Even the first Europeans who came to Minnesota were always taken up here to see this great body of water that was important to the Dakota and the Ojibwe. But as we pick up our history, this is kind of the border right here, this green area. And you can see here that today, what is left is just a few scant little areas, reservations left of Dakota homeland in Minnesota. We have the Upper Sioux community, we have the Lower Sioux community here, we have the Minnewacan Shakopee, well, we should know that one, and then way to the east is the Prairie Island. And these are just tiny, tiny little slivers of land that are left compared to all that. So at one time, the Dakota controlled, used, and lived in perfect harmony in this area right here. The Dakota people are divided up into 7 tribes. They call them the 7 council fires. We've got the Minnewacan, of course, which are by us here in Jordan, the Wahpeton, the Wapakute, the Sisseton, the Yankton, the Yanktoni, and the Teton. Now, these 4 at the bottom were further to the west of Minnesota, and then these 3 here lived within the borders of what we would call Minnesota today. And their dialect or language was basically the same with some small differences. So the language spoken by the Minnewacan could be understood by the Teton, even though it wasn't exact. Now, the Dakota lived a life based on the seasons of the year. And that's really important to remember because every season of the year had a task for them to accomplish, whether it was hunting or gathering. And so they were very in tune with the natural world. We always think of Native Americans as living in teepees. And for the Dakota, that wasn't true. They lived in the teepees in the fall months and then the winter. And sometimes, even in the winter, they lived in these things called bark houses. So it's kind of up for debate sometimes, but winter, spring, and summer, they lived in more permanent structures called bark houses. And the fall, and then part of the winter, they lived in their buffalo hide teepees. And we'll learn about that tomorrow. As the picture shows here, the Dakota were very adept at hunting buffalo with spears, bows, and arrows later on. And then horseback became a method of hunting after the Europeans began to explore North America. Now, the eastern tribes of the Dakota, which would be the tribes of Minnesota, spent more time hunting deer in the woodlands than on the prairie. They had access to deer, so they didn't hunt buffalo quite as much as some of the other tribes. So I just wanted to introduce this to you today to go ahead and get you accustomed to this. And then all I want you to do now is go back to this note-taking sheet here, run through this, watch this short video. It's like less than 3 minutes long. Fill in these blanks. You can copy and paste what you think are the correct answers. Pick the ones here that belong. There's 7 of them, and there's some extras. This one, once again, there's multiple choice. Put the drag and drop, copy and paste the correct ones. And then the last slide has what's called a reflection for the day. And I just simply want to explain why Dakota culture was so important to the history of Minnesota. What did the Dakota do for our state? How come, what did the Dakota do to make Minnesota like it is? And you may not know the complete answer yet on that one, and that's okay. But go ahead and take your best guess. So once again, there's nothing for you to turn in. The slides are here already, and then I'll put the note-taking sheet on here so that you can have both things to work on as well as this video. So nothing to turn in. Have a good day. Tomorrow we will be talking about the seasons and the importance of the seasons for the Dakota.